Here's your wrestling news for February 8th, 2023, and we're kicking off today with WWE, who right now has a lot going on, with Vince McMahon's return resulting in multiple legal challenges, and with the possible sale coming up, even more legal issues are likely to surface. Now WWE has another issue on their plate, as it's been announced that Pomerantz LLP is investigating the company and is considering a class action lawsuit over alleged security law violations. These allegations stem from McMahon's return to power, and Pomerantz is said to be investigating on behalf of WWE's investors. The hush money scandal that Vince McMahon found himself wrapped up in could be deemed as violations of security laws. McMahon returned to WWE less than 6 months after retiring over the hush money scandal, and the investors in the company were given zero say or even a heads up by the company regarding his return. The executive chairman's position means that he can do whatever he pleases regarding a potential sale, though it's worth stating that McMahon has kept true to his word so far and kept away from WWE TV. When McMahon retired, the wrestling world changed, and it changed once again once he made his shocking comeback. But while WWE is on the road to WrestleMania, the billionaire may be on the road to a courtroom in his future. At WrestleMania 39, Cody Rhodes will look to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns, though this is hardly the match WWE had initially wanted. While Rhodes is a big star, WWE hoped on the WrestleMania 39 main event being between Reigns and The Rock, and were ready to go to some pretty major lengths to have this match. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that had the Rock vs. Reigns match gone ahead, then WWE would have created a new world championship for Cody to win on night one. The key to this is that they are not creating a new championship on the Saturday night show. Yeah, they were talking about doing a second title on Saturday night. If it was Roman and The Rock, then they were going to create a championship on Saturday night that Cody would have probably ended up winning, but it was Cody, Drew, or Rollins that was going to come out of that one. They were creating a second one because they want to go back to 2 titles. The idea being that Rhodes, the Rumble winner, would get his WrestleMania title match while still leaving Roman Reigns fresh to defend the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against his cousin. It wasn't long after WWE unified their 2 world titles at WrestleMania 38 that talks began of introducing a new world championship, and while that still could happen, it won't take place in Los Angeles this April. Since Triple H took over WWE's talent relations department in July 2022, the company has undergone a lot of changes, and one of those changes was revealed last week. It was reported a few days ago that the WWE NXT talent will be able to work some dates with Reality of Wrestling, the promotion of 2-time Hall of Famer and NXT commentator Booker T. Ivy Nile of the Diamond Mine will be the first to make the trip, as she'll be at ROW's show on February 11th, and we now know exactly how this situation started. Explaining the situation on his podcast, Booker said he asked WWE for a favor, which the company was happy to grant, and called Nile one of his favorite talents in NXT. Booker was quick to point out that either his promotion or WWE will be the ones announcing NXT talent in ROW, and if you see an advertisement for the show from any other source, then they're just straight up lying. It's been reported that WWE has other indie promotions in their site, ones that are said to be close allies of AEW, so while WWE may be only in bed with ROW for now, expect other promotions to forge their own deals with the company that, in the past, hasn't played well with others. Yesterday we reported on Jerry the King Lawler, who suffered a medical emergency last evening in Fort Myers, Florida. At the time, it was believed that Lawler had suffered a stroke, but that is not the case according to veteran wrestling journalist Bill Apter. In his report, Apter spoke about his friend, saying that instead of a stroke, Lawler suffered from an issue in his carotid artery, and that the King has since undergone surgery and is on the mend. Lawler was lucky not to suffer a stroke, but the issue with his carotid artery is still very serious, and we are sending the Hall of Famer the best and wishing him a speedy recovery. It's been less than 2 months since Mandy Rose was released from WWE over the nature of her content found on her website. Rose's release came just 24 hours after her 413-day reign as NXT Women's Champion was ended by Roxanne Perez, and her release is something that Rose apparently saw coming. Speaking on the sessions, Rose explained that the original plan had been for the title to change hands at NXT Vengeance Day, and when she was informed that the title change had been moved up by 2 months, she knew something was up. She added, The next day, which I was anticipating with how everything went down, I was making jokes about it actually the night before, because you know how we are, it's the only way to get through it. I was making jokes about it, and all the girls were like, "Oh my god, stop, no, you're crazy," and I'm like, "It's not crazy." Sure enough, the day after making jokes about being released, Rose received the dreaded call from Connecticut, but given that she has a cousin in the state, she wasn't quite sure how to answer. Ultimately, the call was from WWE, who felt they had no choice but to cut her, but given the fortune she's made on her website, it's Mandy Rose who's been having the last laugh. From the moment Rose was released, the rumor mill churned with speculation as to what really happened, with various claims as to how things went down. One popular theory that has been claimed as fact is that Rose was warned several times about her website and repeatedly refused to take the site down, given that she was making more online than in the ring. Now, though, Rose has categorically denied this claim, as she explained to Renee Paquette on the sessions that she never had a warning from WWE to take the site down. Instead, Rose received a message from her lawyer saying that they had spoken to WWE's legal team and encouraged her to take the site down, and she immediately complied. She added, "The next day is when I lost the title and I got fired the following day. I never had a warning. I know there's a lot of news out there that says I was warned. I never did, but it could have been different for sure." Rose said she felt awful for Roxanne Perez, who was winning the title without much build and whose reign was instantly overshadowed by her release, and time will tell if we ever see Mandy Rose back in a WWE ring. For decades, WWE has opted against the idea of intergender wrestling, believing that the violence between men and women would cause too many problems with their sponsors. In the few times when WWE does allow intergender matches, it's usually a strong female getting one over on a cowardly male heel, but could that all be changing? When speaking to Wrestling Inc., Raw superstar Mia Yim spoke about bringing intergender competition to WWE and is all for taking on her male counterparts. "I love it. Intergender wrestling has been a part of me for as long as since I've started. I've been doing it for years, and even just the little stuff. It might not be what I used to do in the Independents or in Impact, but just the little stuff. It means so much to me that I get to go with the boys and hang with them." When Mia was asked whether the men are interested in intergender matches, she said, "They're just as excited, if not more, than us." Since joining the Judgment Day, we've seen Rhea Ripley hold her own against the men, but are you in favor of intergender wrestling? Sound off in the comments below. In just 10 days, WWE will host their next premium live event, Elimination Chamber 2023, which will be the final major stop on the road to WrestleMania 39. During this week's Raw, Lita made her return to WWE, setting her sights on Damage Control, and fans can expect to see the Hall of Famer get physical again in Montreal. 6 hours before Lita was on camera, a brand new Twitter account called WRKD Wrestling tweeted out a spoiler, saying, "Expect Lita tonight, Trish next week, Becky, Trish, Lita against Damage Control at Elimination Chamber." After Raw went off the air, Sean Ross Sapp acknowledged the tweet, but said he would not be retweeting the message, specifically because it was a spoiler of WWE's plans. With Lita returning this week, the only thing left is for Trish to return next week, as WWE is stacking the Montreal show with proud Canadians. In addition to Trish, Sami Zayn and Edge will have high-profile matches at Elimination Chamber, and it won't be long before fans see some satisfaction. Over to NXT, as Bayley made a return to the Gold brand this week to host an episode of her Ding Dong Hello show, but had an interesting look on the show. For her segment with Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, Bayley sported a sling to hold her arm, and said that she showed up to NXT after a gruesome cage match because she's the ultimate role model. With plans for Bayley and Damage Control to compete at Elimination Chamber, this is hopefully just a storyline injury, as genuinely getting injured is the last thing anyone needs this close to WrestleMania. More from NXT now, as Ilja Dragunov was put on the shelf months ago by JD McDonough, but now the Tsar has made his return. On last night's episode, McDonough was close to getting a win over Carmelo Hayes when Dragunov's music hit, and the Moscow-born wrestler took out Trick Williams with a diving headbutt. This distraction allowed Carmelo Hayes to pick up the win over McDonough, who also received a diving headbutt from Dragunov, as the war between these two is far from over. If you've watched Eddie Kingston, you'll know that the AEW star marches to the beat of his own drum and is a very outspoken individual. In the past, Kingston has taken aim at the likes of CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and MJF, but AEW's HR department have set their sights on him. Speaking with Mark Marone of WTF, Kingston said that after insulting MJF, calling the world champion a piece of shit, he received an email from Mega Parek of AEW's HR team saying he can't be insulting the company's top star in this way. Kingston went on to say that no amount of HR complaints will stop him from speaking his mind, and even said he isn't afraid of AEW firing him, as he'll just go and work somewhere else. Eddie Kingston even stated that MJF himself complained to HR about the comment, but if these kind of complaints continue, it may be a long time before the Mad King moves up the AEW card. More from Mandy Rose now, as at this time the Toxic Attraction alum is serving out a 90-day non-compete clause, which will expire on Tuesday, March 14th of this year. After that date, Rose will be free to negotiate and sign with any other promotion if she chooses to do so, and is the former NXT Women's Champion destined to be All Elite? Well, according to the woman herself, don't count it out, as when speaking to Renee Paquette, Rose said it would be nice to reunite with her good friend and Absolution ally, Saraya. Rose was also excited about reuniting with Dustin Rhodes, who Rose also teamed with during her WWE tenure as part of the Mixed Match Challenge. The former superstar added that there's a few little old schools for her to reunite if she were to join AEW. And do you want to see Mandy Rose on Dynamite and Rampage? Let us know in the comments. And we're ending today with Grayson Lawler, who was suspended for 1 week from NXT after crashing the post-Vengeance Day media call. Lawler wasn't on last night's NXT, and as explained by Vic Joseph during the broadcast, he also won't be a part of the NXT live events this weekend in Tampa and Citrus Spring. The young heel remains desperate to be the one to dethrone Braun Breaker, but with Carmelo Hayes appearing at the end of Vengeance Day and teasing he'll be next to take on Breaker, it remains to be seen what the future holds for Lawler after his suspension.